stop scrolling right now and listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you will completely change the way you see attraction, relationships, and the power of energy. Most men spend their entire lives chasing attention, trying to impress, begging for approval, and still wondering why the right people never notice them. And most women, they are drawn to a completely different type of man, the kind of man who walks through life with a presence so magnetic, so deliberate, so unshakable, that people can't help but be drawn to him. You've never heard this spoken like this before, and you're about to. I'm not talking about charm, flashy cars, money, or temporary confidence. I'm talking about real, invisible power, the kind that comes from mastering yourself, controlling your energy, and living deliberately. There is a type of older man who doesn't need to chase, who doesn't react to drama, and who doesn't seek approval, yet younger women are drawn to him almost instinctively. They are fascinated by his calmness, his consistency, his purpose, and his unshakable presence. And here's the shocking part: they can't explain why, even to themselves. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what this is: the invisible behaviors, the energy, the mindset that makes a man magnetic in a way no one else can replicate. You'll see why the men women obsess over are never the ones who try the hardest. They're the ones who master themselves first. You're about to uncover truths that most people are too scared to say, truths that will not just change the way women see you, but the way the world responds to your energy. If you watch until the very end, you will discover how to embody presence, purpose, and magnetic energy that commands fascination naturally. So stay with me, because what you're about to learn is going to blow your mind and change everything. Listen closely, because this is the part most people never understand. Younger women are drawn to older men not because of flashy gestures, money, or status. They are drawn to men who master themselves first. It's about having control over your mind, your emotions, and your life. It's about being a man who doesn't crumble under pressure, who doesn't seek approval from everyone, and who stands firm in his purpose. Self-mastery is the quiet power that commands respect, fascination, and yes, even obsession. When a man truly masters himself, he creates a space that others can feel, a space of calm, confidence, and magnetic energy. And that space is what pulls people in naturally. Now, self-mastery isn't just a fancy term or a motivational cliche. It's practical. It's the ability to control your impulses, manage your reactions, and live deliberately. It's about choosing your responses instead of being ruled by your emotions. Most men go through life reacting to situations, letting anger, insecurity, or fear dictate their actions. They argue when they should stay silent, they chase when they should hold their ground, and they compromise their values to fit into the expectations of others. And that is why they fail to attract the kind of attention that lingers, the kind that turns into genuine respect and fascination. Younger women sense this lack of control instinctively. They see it in energy, in the tension, in the way a man carries himself. When they see someone who is mastered, someone who is unshakable, deliberate, and self-assured, it creates a fascination that words alone cannot explain. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever met a man who doesn't react to every little drama, who doesn't argue over small things or seek validation constantly? There's something almost magnetic about that presence. It's not loud, it's not aggressive, it's subtle, but it communicates strength in a way that draws people in. Women notice it immediately. It's in the calmness of his voice, the patience in his actions, and the certainty in his steps. They don't just see him, they feel him. And that feeling? It's powerful. It creates a sense of security, admiration, and deep intrigue. Self-mastery also means prioritizing yourself over external chaos. Life will always throw challenges, distractions, and people who try to pull you off your path. Most men let these interruptions define their mood, their confidence, and their decisions. They bend to expectations, they react to criticisms, and they waste energy proving themselves to others. But the men who command respect, the men younger women are naturally drawn to, are those who stand firm regardless of external noise. They have cultivated an internal authority. They know who they are, what they value, and what they will not compromise. That level of clarity and purpose radiates outward and becomes irresistible. It's a silent power, a quiet dominance that attracts naturally because it signals that this man is in control, not just of his life, but of himself. Let me tell you something that most people will never admit. Self-mastery is not something you achieve by reading books or listening to motivational speeches. It is something you live every day. It's in how you handle setbacks, how you respond to criticism, and how you manage your desires. It's in your ability to remain calm when chaos surrounds you. It's in your decision to invest energy in growth rather than validation. Younger women can sense this energy immediately. They are drawn to it instinctively because evolution wired humans to notice who is capable, who is grounded, who can handle life without being consumed by it. Mastery of self communicates competence, security, and stability, all qualities that are far more attractive than a flashy car or a bank account. And here's the part most people overlook. Self-mastery is not about being cold or disconnected. It's about being intentional, confident, and authentic. It's about having boundaries that protect your energy, yet still being open and human. It's about knowing when to act and when to hold back, when to speak and when to stay silent. A man who masters himself does not feel the need to manipulate, to impress, or to compete for attention. He simply exists in his truth, and the world responds. That quiet, deliberate confidence is what makes younger women obsess, not because he demands it, but because he embodies a way of being that is rare, magnetic, and undeniable. Self-mastery also gives a man freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from jealousy, from the constant need for validation. Freedom to make decisions based on what serves him, not on what pleases others. And freedom is intoxicating. Women sense it, admire it, and are drawn to it because it signals that this man is not at the mercy of circumstances or people. He is his own anchor. He is his own authority. And that energy, calm, grounded, self-contained, is what makes him unforgettable. So if you want to truly understand why younger women are drawn to certain men, start here. Focus on mastering yourself before anything else. Work on your mind, your habits, your emotions, and your purpose. Learn to respond rather than react. Learn to stand firm in your values while still being adaptable in your approach. Cultivate patience, resilience, and self-awareness. Build your energy so that it cannot be shaken by external chaos. This is not a temporary strategy. This is a lifestyle, and when you live it, you will notice the shift, not in the women around you, but in the way life itself bends to your presence. Remember this, obsession is never about desperation. It is about presence. It is about self-mastery. It is about being the man who walks through life on his terms, unshaken and unapologetic. When you achieve that, attraction happens naturally. Fascination follows, respect becomes automatic, and younger women or anyone who encounters your energy cannot help but be drawn to the strength you emanate. So start today. Take control of your mind, master your emotions, align with your purpose, stand firm in your values, let your energy speak louder than your words, because a man who masters himself doesn't need to chase anyone, he simply attracts, effortlessly, powerfully, and permanently. And never forget, the greatest power you can ever wield is the power over yourself. Once you have that, everything else follows. Now, let's talk about something most people completely misunderstand. And it comes to attraction. It's not charm, it's not money, it's not the ability to say the right things at the right time. What truly makes younger women obsessed with certain men is something far more subtle, far more powerful: calmness and unshakable presence. There is a quality in some men that makes them magnetic, and it has nothing to do with being flashy or loud. It's in the way they move through life, steady, grounded, and completely unbothered by the chaos around them. Most men spend their lives reacting. They let every comment, every setback, every unexpected twist throw them off balance. They argue, they panic, they over-explain themselves. And women sense this immediately. You don't have to tell anyone you are insecure. Your energy will broadcast it. Women are wired to notice tension, uncertainty, and instability, even if they don't consciously understand why. On the other hand, a man who maintains calm in every situation communicates strength, reliability, and a kind of quiet authority that words cannot capture. This is what draws fascination. This is what creates obsession. Think about it. Have you ever noticed that the men who naturally command attention are often the ones who speak little, act deliberately, and never seem rushed? Their energy doesn't scream for attention, it demands it without effort. That is the power of unshakable presence. It is the kind of energy that women sense before they even see a word spoken, before they hear a laugh, before they notice a gesture. It is felt in the way a man moves, the way he breathes, the way he responds, or doesn't respond, to situations that would send others into panic or frustration. Calmness is not weakness, T is strength perfected. Unshakable presence is cultivated, not given. It comes from experience, discipline, and conscious choice. A man who masters his own presence has learned to pause before reacting, to observe before judging, and to choose his energy rather than let it be chosen for him. He understands that every interaction is an opportunity to project stability and control. He doesn't overreact to criticism. He doesn't need to defend himself unnecessarily. He doesn't feel compelled to impress anyone. That control over self-presentation, over internal reaction, is a form of power most people overlook, but women feel it instinctively. Here's what's shocking: calmness attracts more than chaos ever could. A man who remains unshaken by the unpredictability of life communicates that he is someone who can handle anything. That energy signals security, protection, and stability, all qualities that humans are wired to find attractive. It's not about pretending to be perfect or unaffected. It's about developing a mental and emotional resilience so strong that nothing external can control your internal state. This is why younger women are drawn to older men who embody this presence. They can feel it. It resonates on a deep level, and once it's felt, it creates a sense of fascination that is almost impossible to resist. The world will always try to pull you in different directions. People will demand your attention, question your choices, and challenge your confidence. Most men react. They bend, they break, they argue, but the men who command genuine fascination do something different. They stand firm yet adaptable, strong yet approachable. Their calmness is not arrogance, it's mastery. They understand that true power lies in holding composure when others are losing theirs. That energy is magnetic. That energy pulls people in naturally. And let's not confuse this with passivity. Calmness does not mean inactivity. It does not mean letting life happen to you. It means moving with intention, with strategy, and with confidence in your own steps. It means choosing your battles, speaking your truth, and living your life according to your principles. Unshakable presence is about making calculated, deliberate moves while the world around you reacts impulsively. That contrast creates intrigue, fascination, and yes, obsession. Women are wired to notice it because deep down we are all drawn to energy that signals strength, competence, and clarity. Calmness also gives a man freedom, freedom from the emotional chaos of others, freedom from the need to over-explain, freedom from insecurity and unnecessary conflict. When a man walks through life unshaken, he becomes a kind of anchor in a sea of turbulence. People are drawn to that anchor instinctively. Women, in particular, sense that this man will be there when the storms come, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. That sense of safety and stability is rare. That sense of calm authority is magnetic. Let me emphasize something most people don't realize. Unshakable presence is not about ego or superiority. It's about awareness and control. It's about knowing yourself deeply, understanding your worth, and choosing how to respond to the world with intelligence and poise. It's about becoming a man whose energy doesn't fluctuate based on circumstance or opinion. And that is exactly why younger N can become obsessed. Not because he demands their attention, but because his energy pulls it effortlessly. Now imagine the contrast. A man who reacts impulsively, loses his cool, or chases attention will always feel the need to prove himself. His energy repels rather than attracts. But a man who remains composed, steady, and deliberate, someone who radiates calm confidence, draws attention without effort. People want to be near him, they want to observe him, they want to understand him. His calmness is the signal of strength. His presence is the signal of security. And when that energy resonates with a woman, it becomes fascination. Obsession follows naturally, almost instinctively. So, how do you develop this quality? You start with awareness. You observe your reactions, your impulses, and your triggers. You practice patience and discipline. You learn to respond deliberately rather than react impulsively. You control your energy rather than letting life control it for you. You build the habit of being calm under pressure, of listening before speaking, of holding space for yourself regardless of the chaos around you. And slowly, over time, that energy becomes second nature. It becomes the magnetic force that pulls people in, that commands respect, and that fascinates. And never forget this: calmness is not passive. It is powerful. It is deliberate. It is a reflection of mastery. When you embody unshakable presence, you no longer need to chase, convince, or compete. Your energy speaks louder than your words. Women feel it, they notice it, and they are drawn to it without even realizing why. The stronger and calmer you become, the more magnetic your presence becomes. So, start today. Practice stillness in the chaos. Control your energy, master your reactions, and carry yourself with quiet authority. Stand firm in your truth, yet move with deliberate purpose. Be a man whose calmness is felt before words are spoken, because that energy, calm, confident, unshakable, is not just attractive, it is unforgettable. Remember this: chaos attracts attention for a moment, but calmness commands it for a lifetime. Be that man. Be steady, be grounded, be magnetic, and the world, including younger women, will respond, not because you demanded it, but because your presence simply cannot be ignored. Let's be honest, most people think attraction is about charm, about knowing the right words to say, or about making grand gestures. They believe that if a man is funny enough, confident enough, or flashy enough, he can capture attention and hold it, but that's not how it works. True fascination, the kind that draws people in, keeps them thinking about you long after you leave the room, is not built on charm alone. It is built on consistency. That's right. The men younger women obsess over are not necessarily the ones who say the perfect thing at the perfect moment. They are the ones who show up reliably, live with purpose, and act in alignment with who they truly are every single day. Consistency is powerful because it signals integrity. It communicates without a single word that this man can be trusted, that his energy is predictable in the best sense, that when he promises something, he follows through, that when he sets a standard for himself, he lives by it. Women and people in general are wired to notice this. They may not consciously articulate it, but they feel it. It creates fascination because it shows that this man is not swayed by every distraction or influence. He is steady, he is grounded, he is reliable. And that reliability over time becomes magnetic. Most men fail in this area because they rely on charm instead of substance. They think a clever joke, a bold move, or a temporary display of confidence is enough to capture attention. But charm is fleeting. Charm excites for a moment, but it fades. It cannot sustain respect or admiration. Consistency, on the other hand, compounds. Every time you act in alignment with your values, every time you respond deliberately instead of reacting impulsively, you are reinforcing a presence that cannot be ignored. It builds trust, it builds curiosity, and it builds the kind of fascination that younger women or anyone drawn to strong energy can't resist. Consistency also shows self-respect. It signals that a man values himself enough to maintain standards, to stay disciplined, and to act in accordance with his principles, no matter the circumstances. Women sense this instinctively. They notice the man who keeps his word, who manages his time well, who invests in himself steadily. They notice the man who doesn't need to overcompensate, exaggerate, or perform to be noticed. That steady, deliberate energy is far more attractive than charm because it is authentic. It is rooted in reality, not performance. Think about it in practical terms. A man who is consistently disciplined with his work, his habits, and his growth demonstrates a level of control and focus that is rare. A man who treats people with respect consistently, who manages conflict calmly and predictably, doesn't waver in his values, shows a kind of strength that is invisible at first glance, but undeniable once felt. Women are drawn to this energy because it signals that he can be relied upon, that he is a man of substance, and that his presence will not fade or falter under pressure. This is the energy that inspires obsession, not charm, not momentary excitement, but the steady, unshakable force of a man who is consistent in his life and his actions. Consistency is also about aligning action with intention. A man who talks about growth but never follows through is immediately detectable. A man who promises the world but cannot keep his word creates dissonance. But a man who acts consistently with his values, his goals, and his purpose communicates authenticity. This alignment between what he says and what he does resonates deeply. Women feel this energy because it signals that this man is dependable, self-aware, and in control of his life. That energy is magnetic. That energy is unforgettable. There's a deeper psychological reason why consistency matters. Humans are wired to notice patterns. Our brains are constantly looking for predictability and reliability in the people around us. When a man behaves inconsistently, it creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is stressful. When a man is consistent, it creates trust and fascination simultaneously. Women, like everyone else, are drawn to patterns of strength and reliability. They are drawn to men who move with purpose, act with integrity, and maintain their energy consistently over time. That is the kind of attraction that cannot be manufactured with charm. It must be built through deliberate, repeated action. And let's confuse consistency with rigidity. Consistency does not mean being inflexible or predictable in a boring way. It means living according to your values, maintaining control over your energy, and acting deliberately while remaining adaptable when necessary. It means showing the world that you have standards and discipline, but you are not a slave to circumstances or other people's expectations. That balance, firmness in values, fluidity in approach, is what creates fascination. That is what younger women sense and cannot resist. Consistency also compounds over time. Charm may get you noticed in a single moment, but it cannot sustain influence or admiration over months or years. Consistency creates a deep underlying energy that grows stronger with every aligned action, every deliberate choice, every moment you demonstrate integrity. Over time, women and people in general begin to associate your presence with reliability, competence, and strength. That association creates obsession because it is based not on superficial attraction, but on a deep, subconscious recognition of your internal power. Let me be clear, consistency requires discipline, awareness, and self-control. It requires a man to understand his values, his goals, and his energy, and to act in alignment with them, even when it is difficult or inconvenient. It requires patience, resilience, and the ability to delay gratification for long-term gain. And that is exactly why it works. Most men do not do this. Most men are reactive, inconsistent, and easily influenced. When a man demonstrates consistency, it stands out. It signals maturity, stability, and self-mastery, all qualities that are magnetic. And here is the ultimate truth: consistency is not about impressing anyone. It's about living your life in alignment with who you are, regardless of external validation. The obsession of others comes naturally when a man becomes consistent in his energy, actions, and principles. It is not forced, it is not performed, it is the natural result of living deliberately and authentically. Women sense it instinctively, they feel it in your presence, they are drawn to it, and once they experience it, it becomes unforgettable. So start today. Focus on being consistent in every area of your life. Be disciplined in your growth. Be deliberate in your actions. Align your words with your behavior. Build trust and energy that cannot be shaken by chaos or distraction. Over time, that consistency will create fascination, respect, and yes, obsession. Because the energy of a man who is consistent in his life cannot be ignored. It is powerful, magnetic, and deeply attractive. Remember this, charm may turn heads for a moment, but consistency builds influence, fascination, and lasting impact. Be the man who shows up every day, who acts deliberately, and who lives in alignment with his values. That is the energy that pulls people in naturally. That is the energy that creates obsession. And that is the energy that transforms a man from ordinary to unforgettable. Now, let's address something that most people never admit, but it's one of the single most important truths about attraction and influence. If you want to command fascination and respect, you must stop chasing approval. This is where so many men fail, and it's the exact reason younger women and people in general don't see their true value. Chasing approval is exhausting, it's visible, and it instantly communicates insecurity. It tells the world and everyone around you that your energy can be influenced, that your worth is negotiable, and that your actions are dependent on someone else's opinion. And that, my friends, is the exact opposite of magnetism. Think about it for a moment. How many men spend their lives trying to be liked, trying to impress, trying to fit into the expectations of everyone they meet? They say things they don't truly mean. They agree with opinions they don't hold. They act in ways that betray their values, all just to be accepted. And it never works, because approval is never fully earned by bending, by compromising, or by performing. It can be borrowed temporarily, but it cannot be owned. You cannot make someone respect or admire you by seeking it desperately. Real respect, real fascination comes when you stop seeking it altogether. Younger women in particular are drawn to men who are independent of validation. They are wired to sense when a man's energy is authentic, when it is not influenced by the need for approval. A man who acts in alignment with his values, regardless of who is watching or judging, radiates authority. His confidence is visible because it is not conditional. It is not based on being accepted, praised, or admired. And that independence is incredibly magnetic. It creates a curiosity and fascination that cannot be manufactured. Women sense that this man does not need them to validate his existence, and that reality makes him irresistible. The psychology behind this is simple, yet profound. When a man seeks approval, he gives away his power. He becomes reactive, easily influenced, and emotionally dependent on others. His energy fluctuates with every opinion, every judgment, every comment. That fluctuation is perceptible and it is unattractive. On the other hand, when a man stops seeking approval, he anchors himself in his own value. His confidence becomes internal rather than external. His energy is consistent, calm, and magnetic. Women feel this energy instinctively. They notice that he is not swayed by what others think, and that stability creates fascination. Now, this does not mean being arrogant, cold, or disconnected. It does not mean ignoring others or refusing to listen. It means choosing carefully whose opinions matter, and understanding that your worth is not defined by how many people approve of you. It means valuing your time, energy, and integrity above temporary validation. It means speaking your truth, acting deliberately, and making decisions based on your values and your purpose, not on what you think will please others. This shift from seeking approval to owning your own power is one of the most transformative changes a man can make. Consider this. A man who constantly seeks approval will never create obsession. He will never radiate the kind of energy that makes women think about him long after the interaction is over. His attention is divided, his energy is scattered, and his presence is conditional. But a man who is independent of approval exudes calm confidence, deliberate action, and self-mastery. His presence signals that he is grounded, stable, and in control of his life. Women notice this immediately. They feel drawn to it because it communicates security, competence, and strength. Obsession is not created by words or gestures. It is created by the energy of a man who is unshakable and unapologetically himself. The truth is, people will always have opinions. Some will admire you, some will criticize you, and some will try to manipulate your decisions to fit their expectations. Most men fall into the trap of trying to please everyone, of adapting their behavior to gain acceptance, and of changing themselves to avoid disapproval. This is exhausting and ultimately unattractive. The men who younger women obsess over are the ones who ignore the noise, who stay true to themselves, and who act according to their own principles. They do not try to win approval. They act with purpose, clarity, and confidence, and the fascination that follows is natural. Chasing approval also diminishes your energy. Every time you bend to someone else's expectations, you weaken your own presence. You reduce the magnetic energy that comes from alignment with your own values and purpose. But when you stop seeking approval, your energy becomes free. It becomes focused, deliberate, and consistent. You no longer react impulsively to judgment or criticism. Instead, you act in a way that reflects your true self. That energy, calm and self-contained, is incredibly powerful. Women notice it, respect it, and are drawn to it in a way that cannot be explained by looks, money, or charm. There is also a deeper psychological layer here. When a man stops seeking approval, he enters a state of freedom. He is free from insecurity, free from fear of rejection, and free from emotional dependency. That freedom is felt by everyone around him. It creates fascination because it signals a man who is self-sufficient, grounded, and in control of his life. Women are wired to sense this freedom and respond to it, often unconsciously. This is why younger women are drawn to older men who do not chase approval. They sense the strength, stability, and autonomy that others lack. And here's the shocking part. When you stop chasing approval, you don't just become more attractive. You also gain clarity. You see who respects you naturally, who aligns with your energy, and who is genuinely worth your time. You stop wasting energy on people who drain you or manipulate you. Your presence becomes selective and magnetic. Women and people in general notice this immediately. They sense that you are a man who cannot be shaken by opinions or external validation, and that creates fascination that turns into obsession. So, how do you stop seeking approval? Start by observing your energy. Notice when your actions are influenced by what others think. Question whether your decisions are aligned with your values or with someone else's expectations. Practice saying no without guilt. Practice standing firm in your decisions even when others disagree. Surround yourself with people who respect your independence and remove those who constantly try to influence or control you. Over time, this practice rewires your energy. You move from reactive to deliberate, from dependent to self-sufficient, and from ordinary to magnetic. Remember this: approval is temporary, energy is permanent. You cannot force respect, attraction, or fascination by trying to please. You generate it by being grounded, deliberate, and independent of external validation. Younger women and everyone else notice this energy immediately. They are drawn to it because it signals strength, security, and authenticity. And once they feel it, obsession happens naturally, not because you demanded it, but because your presence cannot be ignored. So start today. Stop seeking approval. Stop bending to expectations. Stop letting opinions dictate your energy or your decisions. Focus on your growth, your purpose, and your alignment with your own values. Be unapologetically yourself and watch the world respond, not because you forced it, but because your energy, calm and confident, becomes magnetic, unforgettable, and truly irresistible. Remember this: when you stop chasing approval, you stop weakening yourself and you start commanding fascination. Be that man, own your power, stand firm in your truth, and let the energy of authenticity create obsession naturally. Finally, let's talk about one of the most powerful truths you'll ever hear. Younger women and people in general are drawn not to charm, money, or looks, but to purpose and energy. This is the invisible force that separates ordinary men from men who are truly magnetic. Purpose is not a fancy title, a job, or a lifestyle. It is the clarity with which a man moves through life. It is the alignment between who he is, what he values, and the energy he radiates to the world. Women feel it instinctively, even before they hear a single word. And when that energy is present, it creates fascination, obsession, and respect that cannot be faked. Most men misunderstand this completely. They think they need to perform, to act confident, to say clever things, or to flaunt achievements. They focus on temporary attention, unaware that energy is the real currency of attraction. Energy is how you hold yourself, how you respond to challenges, and how you carry your presence in every room. Women are wired to notice energy because it signals stability, competence, and strength, qualities that matter far more than superficial appearances. A man with purpose radiates a kind of confidence that does not beg for validation. He is grounded, deliberate, and magnetic, and that is exactly why younger women cannot resist him. Purpose and energy go hand in hand. Without purpose, energy is scattered. It becomes reactive, unfocused, and inconsistent. Without energy, purpose is invisible and no one can feel it. The men who inspire obsession are those who combine both, men who know why they exist, who have a clear vision for their life, and who channel their energy in alignment with that vision. They do not waste time on unnecessary distractions. They do not bend to the opinions of others. They are deliberate, consistent, and unstoppable in their pursuit of their goals. And that combination of clarity and energy is magnetic. Younger women sense it instinctively. They feel drawn to men whose energy is aligned with purpose because it signals a life lived deliberately. It communicates that this man is not reactive, not desperate, and not influenced by superficial distractions. He has something bigger than himself guiding him. That energy, calm yet unstoppable, creates fascination because it is rare, it is deliberate, and it cannot be manufactured. No words or gestures can replicate it. It comes from living intentionally every day, from embodying your values and goals through your actions, and from cultivating an energy that cannot be shaken by external chaos. Let me be clear. Purpose is not a destination. It is not a one-time achievement. It is a way of being. It is an energy that informs every decision, every habit, and every interaction. It is consistency in action, alignment with values, and deliberate focus on growth. When a man lives this way, it communicates power without effort. It communicates authority without arrogance. It communicates confidence without boasting. Women, like everyone else, notice this energy immediately. They are drawn to it because it signals that he is someone who knows who he is, where he is going, and what he will not compromise on. That clarity of purpose, combined with the energy it produces, is irresistible. The fascinating part is how this energy interacts with the world. A man with purpose does not chase attention. He does not try to impress or manipulate. He moves through life deliberately, and the world responds to his energy naturally. Women notice the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, the way he handles challenges, and the way he invests in his life. They sense that this man is not easily swayed, that he is not dependent on approval, and that he is focused on what matters most to him. That energy is compelling because it promises stability, strength, and authenticity, all qualities that are subconsciously wired to attract fascination. Purpose also amplifies all the previous points we discussed. A man who has self-mastery channels his energy effectively. A man with calmness and unshakable presence directs his energy with intention. A man who is consistent uses his energy to build trust and influence. A man who no longer seeks approval protects his energy from unnecessary drains. Purpose unites all of these traits, giving them direction, meaning, and force. It is the foundation of magnetic energy, and it is why younger women are instinctively drawn to older men who embody it. Now, here's the truth that will shock most people. Attraction is rarely about superficial qualities. It is about energy alignment. When a man's energy resonates with purpose, women feel it in their intuition, in their emotions, and in their attention. It creates a subconscious recognition that this man is capable, grounded, extraordinary. They may not be able to articulate why they are fascinated, but they feel it deeply. That is why purpose and energy attract naturally. They communicate strength, clarity, and value that cannot be fabricated or faked. Developing this energy requires deliberate action. You must cultivate clarity about who you are and what you want. You must take responsibility for your time, your habits, and your choices. You must channel your energy into growth, contribution, and meaningful action. It is not enough to think about purpose. You must live it daily. Your energy must be consistent, focused, and aligned with your values. That alignment creates an invisible force that commands attention and inspires fascination. And here is the most important part. Living with purpose and energy does not mean being detached from emotion or life. It does not mean being cold, rigid, or inaccessible. On the contrary, it means being fully engaged in life, fully present, and fully aligned with your values and goals. It means having the freedom to experience, the strength to endure, and the clarity to act deliberately. That energy is irresistible because it is alive, authentic, and powerful. Women sense it instinctively, and once they do, they cannot help but be drawn to it. Purpose also protects your energy. When you live with clarity, you no longer waste time or attention on distractions, manipulations, or unnecessary validation. You invest in what truly matters. Your energy becomes focused and magnetic. You stop reacting to the world, and instead, the world begins to respond to you. That is the essence of attraction that is not based on superficial qualities. It is attraction built on presence, clarity, and energy. So start today. Reflect on what truly drives you. Define your values, set your goals, and align your actions with them. Cultivate your energy deliberately. Focus on growth, discipline, and self-mastery. Move through life with purpose, calmness, and clarity. Do not chase attention. Do not seek approval. Do not rely on charm. Let your energy, your presence, and your purpose create fascination naturally. Remember this. People are drawn to energy, not appearances. They are fascinated by clarity, not chaos. They obsess over men who live deliberately, who act consistently, who radiate calm strength, and who are independent of approval. Your purpose and energy are your greatest assets. Cultivate them, own them, and watch how the world, including younger women, responds naturally, irresistibly, and permanently, because here is the final truth. A man with purpose and magnetic energy does not need to chase anyone. He simply moves through life aligned, deliberate, and powerful, and the fascination follows naturally. Let that be the energy you embody every single day. Let that be the power you carry, the presence you project, and the legacy you create.